Self-sabotage doesn't look like destruction. It doesn't look dramatic. It doesn't look intentional. It looks quiet. It looks like hesitation, like delay, like knowing what to do and not doing it. Most people who sabotage their own lives don't hate themselves. They are trying to protect themselves from pain, from shame, from failure, from uncertainty. Self-sabotage is not stupidity. It is psychology. The human brain is not designed to make you successful. It is designed to keep you safe. And psychologically, safety does not mean happiness. It means familiarity. The brain prefers what it already knows over what could be better, even when what it knows is limiting, even when it hurts. This is why people stay in situations they complain about, jobs they resent, relationships that drain them, lives that feel smaller than their potential, because predictable discomfort feels safer than unpredictable change. When someone tries to change their life, they are not fighting laziness. They are fighting their nervous system. Every meaningful change, a new direction, a new identity, a new version of the self, introduces uncertainty. And uncertainty is processed as threat, so the brain responds, not with panic, with resistance, subtle resistance, procrastination, overthinking, endless preparation, waiting for the right moment. None of this feels like self-destruction. It feels reasonable, responsible, even intelligent. But slowly, it pulls the person back to the version of life they said they wanted to leave. This is why self-sabotage often appears right before progress, right before commitment, right before momentum, because progress threatens identity. Most identities are formed early. You're the smart one. You're the reliable one. You're the one who struggles. You never finish things. Over time, these labels stop being descriptions and become rules. Rules about who you are allowed to be. When actions move too far away from that identity, the mind resists. If you unconsciously believe that struggle defines you, success feels unfamiliar. If you believe inconsistency is just who you are, discipline feels unnatural. So the brain intervenes, not to hurt you, but to keep you consistent. Another layer of self-sabotage is emotional memory. The nervous system remembers pain far more clearly than success, past rejection, failure, embarrassment. These experiences leave imprints. So when a similar opportunity appears, even years later, the body reacts before the mind does. Tension, avoidance, discomfort. Even if you want progress consciously, your body wants protection. So you stop. You rationalize. You convince yourself you don't really want it. This is not weakness. It is learned survival. But survival is not growth. Another force behind self-sabotage is the need for control. The life many people want to escape is still predictable. Predictable pain feels safer than undefined improvement. When the outcome is unknown, the brain loses control, and loss of control feels dangerous. So the mind chooses familiarity, even if familiarity is limiting. Self-sabotage also protects people from exposure. As long as something stays potential, it cannot be judged. Ideas in your head remain perfect. Plans not executed cannot fail. Action removes ambiguity. And ambiguity, strangely, feels safer than certainty, because certainty forces confrontation with ability, with limits, with responsibility. Many people were never taught how to separate performance from self-worth. So when action risks identity damage, the brain creates friction, doubt, delay, distraction, not to stop you forever, but to keep outcomes unclear. As long as results are inconsistent, the self remains protected. Over time, this pattern becomes automatic. Avoidance becomes routine. Routine becomes personality. At that point, self-sabotage no longer feels like a choice. It feels like who you are. And that is where it becomes most powerful. How self-sabotage takes control. And why it feels so hard to stop self-sabotage is powerful because it does not feel like an enemy. It feels like logic. It feels like caution, like maturity, like being realistic. The voice that stops you sounds calm. It says, now is not the right time. You need to be more prepared. Let's wait until things are clearer. And because the voice sounds like your own, you trust it. This is how self-sabotage hides. It doesn't push you away from your goals. It keeps you close enough to believe you're still trying, but never close enough to change. One of the strongest forces maintaining self-sabotage is internal conflict. Part of you wants growth, another part wants safety. Both believe they are protecting you, so you feel stuck. Not because you lack direction, but because you are being pulled in opposite directions. This tension creates exhaustion. Decisions feel heavy. Simple actions feel overwhelming. Eventually, inaction becomes relief, and relief becomes habit. Over time, people explain this habit as personality. I'm just not disciplined. I always lose motivation. I start strong but never finish. These statements feel true because they are familiar, but they are not facts. They are stories created to make avoidance feel reasonable. Another reason self-sabotage is hard to break is control. Uncertainty feels chaotic. Growth introduces unknown outcomes, new expectations, new standards. Self-sabotage creates predictability. If you underperform intentionally, the outcome is familiar. If you quit early, you avoid surprise. Failing on your own terms feels safer than being exposed. So people leave relationships before they can be left. They abandon projects before they can be judged. They stay small before the world can see them clearly. This is not laziness. It is fear of visibility, fear of being seen without excuses. Another layer is emotional capacity. Change is not only external, it is emotional. Growth brings anxiety. Responsibility brings pressure. Success brings expectation. If someone was never taught how to sit with discomfort, their nervous system shuts down. Motivation fades. Energy drops. Interest disappears. Not because success is impossible, but because the emotions around it feel overwhelming. So how does self-sabotage end? Not with force, not with motivation, with awareness. It ends when you stop asking, what's wrong with me? And start asking, what am I trying to avoid feeling? Fear is not a signal to stop. It is a signal that something matters. Self-sabotage weakens when action becomes small enough that the nervous system stays regulated. Not dramatic change, small intentional steps that contradict avoidance. Acting before confidence appears, continuing despite discomfort. These actions retrain the system. Fear does not disappear, but it loses authority. The people who escape self-sabotage are not fearless. They are willing to act without certainty, willing to be seen, willing to update identity through experience. They stop asking, what if this goes wrong? And start asking, what happens if I keep avoiding it? Because avoidance has a cost, a quiet one, paid in years, in missed chances, in versions of yourself that never existed. Self-sabotage does not destroy lives loudly. It erodes them, slowly, silently, until one day you realize the problem was never ability, it was hesitation. And once you see that clearly, self-sabotage begins to lose its power.